Hey everyone, welcome back to That Plumbing Podcast. I'm Brandon the Plumber, and this week I'm sitting down with Michael. Michael is someone who reached out to me over email, and he actually know him through some guys at my supply house, Van Mark, here in Phoenix. And he wanted to come on and talk about Naviens in particular because he has his own business called Tankless Evolution, where they come out and they sell tankless, but they set up a trailer with a tankless in it so that you could possibly get water overnight or for a few days if you're going through a remediation process or something like that. So I guess we'll just get started. Michael, how you doing tonight?
Good. How are you doing today?
Great. Thank you for calling in. Why don't you just start off, tell us a little about yourself and how you got into plumbing, what do you do, and all that stuff.
Absolutely. So my name is Michael. I'm a third generation plumber. So my granddad taught my dad, who taught me. So we're definitely in the blood. And I'm originally from Europe. So I grew up over in Denmark, Europe, which is where my dad learned, where my granddad is. He still lives over there. So I have the European style plumbing background as far as my teaching and all that. What we've done with Tankless Evolution before that, my dad, he's been running Big J Plumbing for the past 15 years now. And basically, he's your neighborhood plumber. He runs around fixing people's faucets, has coffee with him, does your day-to-day maintenance routine. I joined his company about 3 years ago now. What we came up with together was this hot water expert, which is what Tankless Evolution turned into. So what we wanted to do is basically, we saw a huge need out there for your hot water heater. And basically, we saw a lot of our customers getting ripped off, misled, whatever it may be. And we wanted to basically be that solution for these people. So we like to say we deal in hot water because all we do is hot water. We do traditional heaters. We do your tankless heaters. With that being said, we only do a specific kind. What kind of sets us apart from the rest is we have a patented mobile hot water heating unit. And basically what we can do with this unit is we can park it in your driveway and we can run your house's hot water for up to 40 days during your restoration process. And this gives us a few other options. So we also have a try it before you buy it, things like that, that just makes it, we're unique in that way because we're the only ones with the trailer.
I see. That's really interesting. There's a lot to unpack there. Why don't we just start off, your whole family's from Europe, but you actually did plumbing in Europe?
So I didn't. I moved here when I was 10. My dad, he moved over. So my dad met my mom when he was in the Army. My granddad was already a plumber at that point. My dad followed my mom back to Denmark for 18 years and basically made plumbing his career while he was there. And then we moved over here when I was 10, and he taught me, and he's been teaching me for the past 4 years now. So we've just expanded on it all, but our background is from Denmark. Yep. So it's on the other side of the family type of deal. So basically his in-laws taught him and then he taught me. So I'm the third generation in line. But yeah, we've had plumbers throughout all our lineage, and my granddad's dad was actually also a plumber. So.
Oh man, yeah, it's a rich history of plumbers. That's pretty awesome.
Yep, absolutely.
So the business itself has been passed down 3 generations as well? Or?
No, so that's actually changed quite a few hands. So in Denmark, my granddad kind of did your remodeling type of plumbing. In Europe is a lot different. You're not just working on pipes, you're working on roofs, you're working throughout construction in a way. As far as that, there's no way to really transfer it from Europe to here. So when my dad came here, he learned the ropes. He worked for a few bigger companies, and then he decided to start his own company, which was Big J Plumbing.
I see. Okay. And what do you mean there's no like specialized plumbers in Europe? They have a jack of all trades going on?
Yeah, exactly. So basically it's intense, the whole schooling process, but there's a certain amount of years you have to go over there, and the knowledge you gain over there, they want you to know your field and be an expert in your field, but then they also want you to know fields outside of that to have that general knowledge. So there's a lot of schooling, there's a lot of extra work that goes into Europe that really it doesn't even exist over here. So it's just an education that a lot of people don't have as far as becoming that master plumber.
So in order to get, say, your plumbing license, you have to be well-rounded in construction in general, and then you can special plumbing?
And over there, you can actually only own your own plumbing company if you become a master plumber. And I'm not 100% sure on the years, but it takes upwards of 7 years to get a master license over there.
I see. Yeah, I'm originally from Louisiana, and there are other states like this where you have to have a master's level in order to have your own business.
Yep. Yeah, there are a few states. Yeah, I think Minnesota is one of them too. And yeah, there are a few out there. But yeah, Arizona is one of those that they're a little bit more lenient on all that stuff, and that's where we like to boost our Danish heritage because we do have that kind of knowledge.
Yeah, it means you can provide more than just plumbing to your customers if necessary.
Absolutely. Yep.
Like it. Okay, so you came over when you were 10 from Denmark, and so that puts you, how long have you been practicing?
I'm turning 28 in March.
Oh,
For 18 years, I've been working on and off with my dad, just here and there. But for the last 4 years, we've been working full time.
so you started when you were 10, just helping your dad out, and now you're 28. He's still working, or has your grandpa, he's retired? It's just you and your
Uh,
dad
so
now?
so my granddad, he's over in Europe, so he's never
Oh,
really been part of this company. So he's just the one that taught my dad. So that's where the third generation comes from. But my dad, he's been running Big J Plumbing for the past. He started when I was 14, so he's been running Big J Plumbing for the last 14 years, and then I joined him 4 years ago, and we've been continuing that almost. Now it's almost a side venture to our Tankless Evolution, but it was one of those things that was the main provider, still the main provider, and then Tankless Evolution is our business that we're trying to get started.
what was your inspiration for the Tankless Evolution?
We saw a lot of customers that basically were in need. And one of our customers actually was the biggest inspiration. So they had a water heater that flooded their whole water heater closet. The way that their house is set up is their water heater sits above their air handler, which is actually very similar in a lot of these higher end houses. There's just a lot of kind of weird things like that, how they were built and all that sort of stuff. But basically what ended up happening was the water heater started leaking, didn't have a pan, so it went down into the drywall, down into the air handler, and basically created a whole bunch of mold spores, black mold, all those sort of things that you don't want throughout your house. What would have ended up happening, let's say they didn't catch it, they would have turned their AC on come summer, it could basically been blown throughout their whole house. Luckily, they caught it early to the point of where they hadn't turned their AC on, they hadn't gone through that process, but they still needed 5 weeks worth of restoration. They said yes to their insurance company to staying in the home instead of going to stay at a hotel. They didn't want to do that for 5 weeks. What they didn't realize is they didn't have their dishwasher, they didn't have their washing machine, they didn't have all those basic needs at home without their hot water. So we came up with this trailer. What if we could park it in their driveway, run their house's hot water, run 2 lines into where their hot water heater sits right now? The restoration guys have a clean work area, and they can stay at home the whole time. So that was our whole thinking behind it, was teaming up with the restoration guys and that sort of deal.
I see. That's really a good idea, because if you're without hot water for weeks, and as we all know, restorations can last weeks, months sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we had one, actually last week we had one. So basically this guy's mother-in-law was coming into town. The day she comes into town, the hot water doesn't work, right? She shows up, she's ready to take a shower, getting off the plane, all that stuff, and no hot water. He calls us. We have the bed there within an hour. She has hot water. She gets to test the tankless. They fall in love with it. We end up installing the tankless a week later, and they haven't skipped a beat the whole time because they've had the hot water. And we want to avoid a lot of those headaches that people have, and we have the solution for it.
Yeah, it could be pretty seamless because you have Tankless Evolution, and then at the plumbing side as well, so you can make the repairs. You don't have, there's no call this one going back and forth. You are like aside from the restoration process, a one-stop shop.
Yep. We try to do it all, and our biggest thing really with the trailer, we happened upon it. But our biggest kind of goal was, a lot of people have never actually seen a tankless unit before. They don't really know how it works. So it's a hard thing to explain. So we thought, why don't we make this 3D brochure out of this trailer? So we did, and we put it all up. We had a drywall, we have baseboards, we have everything in there just like we would do in a standard house install. Then the doors fold out. We have all our literature on the door. So it's a 3D brochure. And as we're building this thing, we thought, why don't we make this thing functional? So then we added the portholes underneath. We added the lines in the back and all that sort of stuff, and really made it so it could be utilized by a home. And our biggest sort of inspiration for it was, like, when a hospital goes down, they have these huge semis that basically do the exact same thing. They roll them into the driveway and they run the hospital's whole hot water system all from the parking lot. But there's nothing for your little homeowner, which is where we come in.
So the trailer was originally just like you said, a 3D brochure. You made it to look just like it would if through an installation. You have the vent holes and then everything, the lines going in, and then you were like, let's just make it functional. And then that's
we
when
just kind of added on to the idea, and we thought, one thing to show them, roll up and basically hook in cold water, hot water comes out, more of a demonstration in a way. And then we thought this thing could really be useful for a lot of people. And we just, from there, we started looking for a competition, realized there was none. So then we went to the patent lawyer. So now we're patent pending on the mobile water heater unit, and we're going through that process as well. And yeah, there's just it's been quite a few steps, but yep, that's how the whole idea came about.
Wow, pretty legit, lawyers and everything.
Yeah, we're moving down the line.
The idea's been taken, guys. There's no copying.
Yeah.
That's great. And then the Tankless Evolution has been up and running for how long?
We started in June. June was our first month,
Okay.
and before that, we were going through the patent lawyer. And we had our biggest thing was we needed to stake our claim, so we got a provisional patent, and that's when we filed it in June.
And as a result, you just started selling more Tankless in general because of the brand, or have you always sold a lot of Tankless under your dad's company?
So we've kind of sold here and there. This is where we're honing in on it. So yes, we have sold quite a few more by doing it this way. But one thing that we've realized, it's obviously super useful for restoration companies, things like that. But one thing that it does for us is it actually buys us time. So we have a customer that's on a Saturday night, the store's closed, all that sort of stuff. They have no way of getting hot water till Monday morning. And we have a way to basically provide them with that hot water, and not only provide them with them, give them, let's say they need a week of our trailer. Within that week, we basically have the time they can walk through. Do we want a tankless? Do we want the traditional? They can go through all those sort of steps, and they have hot water the whole time. They're not skipping a beat. So that was our biggest goal, was to keep people at home. Was our biggest thing.
That's a good idea. The company I work for, we can't just drop everything and do a tankless that day. And depending on the schedule, maybe not even the next day. But you have the ability, no matter what, to come and set that tankless unit down, that trailer, get them up and running, get them committed, or at least get them thinking. That's a really good idea.
And it's a try it before you buy it. So we let them use the unit. We let them see, is it even something that they want for the family? Because it is a pretty big commitment as far as price wise and all those sort of things. So there's a lot of people that are on that teetering side. Do I need to go traditional? Do I need to go tankless? If their traditional heater ends up blowing, generally they just say, all right, how fast can I get hot water back? So they don't really have the option to think, all right, can I go tankless? Can I not? So we give them more than that. We give them the option to try it. So that's our biggest thing there.
Your company is based around a tankless you can trust. What type of tankless do you offer?
So that's another thing. So what we've done in our company is we only install one type of tankless. The reason we only install one type of tankless is it's a disservice to the customer to install anything less. So your traditional water heater, when it's built for a house, it's said how many bathrooms do we have? How many faucets do we have? It goes based on the house. Whereas with a tankless, you say, if I have water running through this, I want the smallest flame possible, which will create the least amount of strain on my unit. We install only the biggest unit possible to create that smallest flame when in use.
What brand do you like to use?
The Navien 240A2 is the one that we install.
Okay, yeah, that's the ones I've installed those in the past as well.
Yep.
They're like top tier.
Yeah, and that's the kind of what we went with, top of the line, all that sort of stuff, because it really checks all our boxes. Because we want to give the customer something that they can truly be proud of and enjoy.
It's a big investment, and you get what you pay for in a tankless market. I've had customers where they're like, I tell them the price, and they're like, oh, there's a whoever at Home Depot for $500, whatever it is, and that is not the same as a Navien. Navien is nationwide. They have school. In fact, we had some of our techs go get certified a few months ago over in California, where they teach how to break the system down and everything like that. So Naviens that's the right choice, especially if you're going to warranty it, because I'm sure your tankless comes with a warranty.
Yep. We actually offer an extra warranty. We are the only people that offer a swap out warranty. This is what really sets us apart from our competition. Basically, you're making this huge investment on this product. What happens if in a month from now it's going down? You have this plumber that shows up. He's at the mercy of whoever is on the other side of the Navien call. And if you get somebody who's not very knowledgeable, hasn't really been in the game too long, all those sort of things, you might be getting the wrong parts. You might be out for a couple of weeks. You've just paid upwards of $4,000 for this unit, and you have no hot water. So what we've done is we sell all our units with a swap out warranty. For the first 5 years, if it throws an error code, we show up, we reset the error code. It shows up again within a day, within a week, within a month. We're not fixing the unit, we're replacing the unit. And the reason we do that is we avoid a lemon, because Your traditional water heater has about 15 parts. All are subject to go wrong. All can be replaced fairly easy. The tankless has about 250 parts. All can go wrong. All are pretty difficult to get replaced. Very difficult to track down. All those sort of things. So we take the burden away from the customer at that point. What we do with the tankless is we take it home, we get the parts, we fix it, we do all that, and we end up putting it in one of our trailers. So we have a use for it where other people don't. And it basically takes it out of the circulation for the homeowner and puts it into the circulation for our trailers.
Wow, dude, that's a really great warranty. You'll just replace it. And
exactly. And that's where we call it a swap out warranty, because we're taking that burden, because there is a warranty on the unit itself, but we're taking that burden as far as you being without hot water. We want to put you in hot water as fast as possible again. And that's where we found actually replacing them is once you have the whole unit up, we do a backboard, we do all those kind of things to make it very easy for us to swap out the unit if it ever needs to be done. As far with us, the only requirement we have for that warranty being up to date is your maintenance is up to date. As long as you do a yearly maintenance, which is a yearly flush on the unit, and we keep eyes on it, those type of things, that warranty is up to date for the first 5 years. For 5 years, we keep up that swap out warranty.
All right. So when they buy the unit, it comes with the service agreement attached.
Yep. And another thing we do with that is we have a prorated amount. We charge you half price if you pay all up front. So you pay the 5 years up front with the unit, and we contact you for those 5 years. You don't have to pay out of pocket at all when we show up.
For those that have not seen one or worked on them, they are very complex, especially compared to a regular standard tanked water heater. They're awesome. They're great. They're endless hot water. But like you said, you're at the mercy of, is tech support open? Do they know what they're talking about? Are they just trying to get you off the phone? There's a lot going on there. So it's great that you have that swap out to where, like, all right, we're not getting anywhere with this guy, or it's 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever the case, we'll get you back up and running and we'll figure this out.
Exactly. And we've only had one go down so far, so it's a very low failure rate. That one that we did have go down, it was about 14 days for it to come back up and running, because we had to talk to 2 separate technicians and they send us 4 different parts for each one. So it was just kind of one of those messes that you're supposed to be the expert and you're listening to the guy on the phone, right? And it's just one of those situations we want to avoid, and we want the customer to really be taken care of.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're paying good money for this. They deserve the best service and the peace of mind. The last thing you want is for them to get buyer's remorse and they spend thousands and then they regret it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we hear a few stories out there of people already. They go, I would never go tankless again. I would never do this. I would never do that. And it's really because they've had those bad experiences. And a lot of people almost bit the bullet too early. Like with the Navien 240A2, there's a recirc in it. There's all these kind of high tech advancements that there wasn't a couple of years ago. So a lot of those units that are a couple of years old, they're lacking those kind of futuristic luxuries.
The built-in recirculating pump is really awesome and really convenient. And it's such a huge selling point, especially if your customer doesn't have a recirc line or recirc pump to begin with, to know that it just comes standard. That's even more luxury.
Yep, absolutely.
Why Navien? Why 240A2? You had mentioned the flame. The Navien can adjust the flame based on usage. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the flame is what heats it, right? You got this heat exchanger that's heating it. You want to keep that flame as small as possible, so it creates at least a strain on the unit as possible. That's why we install the biggest unit that they have, to keep that flame down, to keep everything running smoothly, all those sort of things. The biggest kind of factor with tankless is the efficiency. So the efficiency on a Navien, you're getting about 98% efficiency, which means the energy that it's creating, it is utilizing 98% of it towards that hot water. Whereas with the traditional tank, you're taking that energy that's being created and you're taking about 40% of it and you're shooting it right out the chimney. So right out the roof, not being utilized for much. So that's the biggest aspect there. The Navien, they've really done a good thing with the Easy Nav and those sort of things. One thing my dad was against was installing these a few years ago, because there was no way to recirc them. The way that they had done it is they basically installed 2 tankless units, one beside each other. One would be for recirculation and one would be to heat the water. So it just really wasn't a good method of doing it. What Navien has come up with is an Easy Nav. The Easy Nav, basically, it sends out hot water. So instead of your recirc pump running for 60 minutes an hour, it's only running for about 6 minutes an hour. So it shoots that hot water out. It sees how long it takes for it to come back. Then it turns itself off. And it does it again in a couple minutes. And it repeats that process throughout the hour instead of running for that entire 60 minutes.
Because maybe a standard recirc pump, you have the little dial, you click how long you want to come on. The Naviens have a thermostat where it only recircs as long as it's necessary.
Yep. And it sends it out, sends it back, does all those sort of things. And it's just really a high-tech unit.
And how many of these can you, let's say you have someone with a mansion. I know we have contracts with the First Watch around the valley. So each First Watch has two of them together. So there's really no limit to how much water you can get out of it.
Yep. So it does 11 gallons a minute, just one unit by itself. You can cascade up to 32 of them together. And that's for more of huge office buildings, things like that really need a ton of water. So hospitals, things like that run on a few of these. But you actually, if you go to a lot of restaurants now, you've seen that they've taken that 75 gallon or the high commercial water heater that they have, and they've turned it into 3 or 4 of these, because it's a lot more efficient and they gain a lot more space throughout the restaurant, which is a very valuable space for them.
And they're pretty reliable. It's not like we're going out there fixing them all the time or replacing them. The reliability is really there.
Yeah, I think they've really spent their time as far as their components being above par. Because we do work on a lot of these, and even just looking at them from the outside, you can see that the unit itself is just a lot smaller than the Navien, where the Navien, it's just really beefed up. And I think they've really spent their money wisely as far as what components have the heat exchanger. It's a stainless steel heat exchanger, so it's really optimal for the unit running as long as possible.
What are the manufacturer warranties on the Naviens?
The manufacturer on the Navien is you have 1 year on labor and then 5 years on parts, 15 years on the heat exchanger. So basically all the other parts besides the heat exchanger has a 5 years on parts, and our swap out warranty goes alongside that with the parts and all that sort of stuff, to where we provide the whole unit versus just the individual parts and all that sort of stuff.
So you back Navien's warranty basically with labor.
Yep.
and the swap out warranty.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
How many guys do you have working on just the plumbing division?
Big J Plumbing, that's just me and my dad running right now. As far as the Tankless Evolution, it's me, my dad, and then we have one other guy at the supply house, Brian. That it's the 3 of us running it. So that's the new adventure. So Big J Plumbing will probably slowly start fading away as Tankless Evolution gets bigger.
So you're trying to back away from traditional plumbing and just strictly focus.
We're trying to focus. We're trying to be that hot water expert for as many people as possible, especially because we see all the numbers. We see people really getting ripped off, and we see Miss Johnson, all of a sudden she's got to take out a loan to get a new water heater, and it's getting ridiculous out there. So we really wanted to provide a service that's going to be useful for as many people as possible.
And shout out to Brian. I'm sure he'll be listening to this one.
And we've only had good feedback, so that's one of our biggest plus sides, is we haven't had any negatives about it.
Really good, because customers can be picky, especially when it comes to their hot water.
Absolutely.
And one thing customers should know is that the Naviens, they do not require to enlarge your gas line, which is a huge selling point. Whereas like older schools, what were you required to go up to a 3/4, probably pretty much in every situation. Whereas the Naviens can usually use the existing gas line for your tanked water heater.
Yep. So they're really useful as far as that. And you can also convert them over to propane. So the ones that we have in our trailer, they're actually converted over to propane. So the propane sits on the tongue of our trailer and feeds the unit.
What would you say is your biggest objection that you're getting from customers?
The biggest objection that we had been getting was this. It's almost intimidating to them. They look at this unit, it's this white box. You open it up, it looks like a spaceship. So there's a lot of parts. There's a lot of things that it's hard to understand. One thing that we have to walk a lot of our customers through, they go, well, how does the water get heated? It's this unit right here. Where does the water sit? It doesn't sit anywhere. It's this unit right here. So it's almost relearning the way hot water works. And I think in a sense, the tank has only been downgraded throughout the years. So the traditional water heater, the design of it hasn't really changed in the last 100 years. Whereas tankless was actually fairly big over in Europe back in the 40s. So tankless has actually made a comeback where a lot of people think that it's this new thing that's been brought about, but it's actually old technology that's been made more relevant. Over there, they're really about efficiency. So that's another huge factor as far as how they build their houses and run their houses and all that.
So you're saying if a customer cares about the environment and wants to be green, Tankless is a good way to support that cause.
Absolutely. And with that, it also adds some leads points. It also does the lower HERS home index scores. And it does a few of those things as far as adding to your home's value.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Especially if you're in a nicer home and they see that you have a tankless. Or the biggest selling point is endless hot water. So if you have a house with a lot of kids, a lot of teenagers, or you have one of those big tubs and the wife likes to take a bath every night, that's when I think really you will see the benefits of a tankless.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's especially for those people that do run out of hot water with the teenagers, with all those kind of things, people, in-laws, all that coming in town. Yeah, the biggest thing with a tankless, a lot of people think it's an instant hot water. So I turn on my faucet, it's instantly hot right there. That's not necessarily the case. It does work like that with the recirc pump, but what we mean by endless is you turn on your faucet, turn on the hot water, you come back 3 months later, it's still coming out hot. So that's one of those clarifications with a lot of people that they think it's almost an insta hot.
Yeah, I've come across that as well. They'll ask for a tankless because they want instant hot water at the faucets. It doesn't quite work that way, but we can definitely educate you. And that seems like what you are going to excel at, or you do excel at, is educating the customer, taking the time, answering their questions, not just, bam, this is it, take it or leave it type situation.
Absolutely. And that's where having our trailer with us is really useful, because so we have it all labeled in our trailer. We have stickers on all our parts, all those sort of things. So we can walk them through every little question they have. And even if they see something that they've never seen before, we can walk them through it. We can show them. We can have them test the hot water, all that stuff.
The fact that they can test it, that gives you so much credibility, and it gives them peace of mind knowing exactly what they're getting. As a homeowner who's never went through this before, you just go over the general replacement process, because it is more involving than just swapping out a water heater.
We do ours a little bit different than most. We have a prefab before we even get to the customer's house. Here at home, we have a backboard. We have cut out nice clean wood, all that sort of stuff. And we create where the lines are going to go from the house. So we take this backboard, we run the hot and the cold side up towards the top, make it look really clean. So we have about an hour's worth of work before we actually get to the job. Once we get to the job, we assess the damage, drain the water heater, pull it off. And at that point, we have a clean work area, no water heater. We then visualize where we're going to put the venting, where we're going to put the gas line, where we're going to connect the hot and cold, and go from there. But the process itself, we put off an entire day for it, just so we don't run into any snags or anything like that, and have that time set away for the customer to get everything put in its right spot.
And the customer doesn't need to be there. You can do this stuff from the garage.
No, not at all. And it is generally, it's not a completely quiet process, but there's not crazy banging. There's generally not any drywall that needs to be cut, anything like that. It's a really clean install.
It does have a condensate line, so there will be some drilling through the walls, but not a lot. It's usually pretty.
Yeah, it's basically the condensate line. That's the only kind of line that's getting added as far as that. And then potentially also the venting, depending on how that goes on the house.
Back in the day, or even now, some tankless that require a larger gas line. That can be thousands extra just to upgrade the gas line and get it over to where the tankless is going to be. So
absolutely.
Yeah, they really cut down the cost, or I should say the installation price.
And that happens PVC line. Depending on the situation, you can also add these neutralizers that basically make that water a little bit less active.
It can hurt your pets, kill your plants. You don't want to do that.
And really the biggest reason for this whole thing is the upgrades within the unit itself. The unit a few years ago, without the recirc, those type of things, not that we weren't supporting it, it just wasn't something that was up to our standards. So now it is, and we really, not so much that we say everybody has to go tankless, because there are a few people out there that it's not the best option for them, but it's definitely something for everybody to consider as far as it being an option.
Now, your nicer houses, tankless really does make sense, and I think it does add value to the home when you're going to resell.
Yep. Yeah, it's about 4% added value when you go to sell.
And they look cool.
You got a little bit more space as well.
Especially with holidays coming up, you have family over, spending the night. They could all be taking a shower at the same time, as long as they're not exceeding gallons per minute and never run out of hot water.
Absolutely.
All right, Mike. So this has been really great. I am really impressed. You had mentioned the idea of the trailer, and Brian has told me about it as well. And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. But after hearing you explain it and describe it, and how you have that trailer where they can test it out first. You lucky, you're lucky you have that trailer patented, because I would bring that to my boss.
Oh, yeah, we ran to the patent lawyer real quick there, right?
Yeah. For people that may be listening who want to contact you, get some more information, ask some questions, what's your website?
So we're Tankless Evolution. So TanklessEvolution.com is the website. I also have my email is TanklessEvolution@gmail.com. So if you need to email me, anything like that. Also on our website, we have our trailer on there, full functioning, all those sort of things. So you can check out what we got.
I'm gonna check out that website, and man, you're gonna give the standard plumbers a run for their money when it comes to these tankless.
That's our goal, right?
All right, thanks for coming on. And if you're thinking about getting a tankless and you don't really know, you want to try it first. That's the big thing. If you have been on the fence about a tankless, you don't know if you're gonna like it, whatever the question is, email him, go to his website, try it out. Can a customer just say, "Hey, I want to try it out. Can you come hook it up for a week and let me see"? Is that something?
Absolutely. Yep,
Yeah.
That's definitely something we do. And basically, our only requirement there is at the end of that week, you either get a traditional or a tankless. So we're not putting in the old unit. So it's definitely an option if you're looking to change out your water heater anyway.
Okay, so you got to be in the market, not just, hey, I want to try it for a week. That makes sense. All right, Michael, thanks for coming on, and I'm sure I'll talk to you again sometime.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.